Hey everyone, welcome back to the Secret Garden series on iHeart Movies. My name is Jonathan North, and today I'm joined by my friend Mark Brown, and we're going to be talking about an animated version of The Secret Garden from 1994. Unfortunately for me, this is just one of those cheaply made TV movies that faded into obscurity directly after airing. It really makes some interesting choices, sometimes to the point where even if you're familiar with the original story, you'll likely have no idea what's going to happen next. Unless you listen to this podcast first, because we're going to spoil everything. Now, before we get into this, I need to preface part of our discussion by saying that since we recorded this episode, actress Honor Blackman has passed away. I believe we recorded this episode back in February, and at the time, as far as we knew, she was alive and well, and I believe it was last month that she passed away. So keep in mind when we're talking about the voice actors here, particularly those who were still living, at that time, Honor Blackman was still alive. Once you get to this part of the show, you'll know why I felt the need to include this disclaimer up front. Okay, I think that's all I've got for now, so let's get on with this episode of the Secret Garden series with Mark Brown on iHeart Movies. I guess to start out with, we can talk about how you knew this version. Were you familiar with this version, like, before we talked about it?
So this is the animated one that I guess came out in 1994 of The Secret Garden. I have a very, 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 very vague recollection that I did see this as a kid, and it's really the only scene I can remember is that at the end where Mrs. Medlock is in the kitchen with the with the bottles of medicine. I don't remember a thing about the movie otherwise until I saw it 2 years ago. Maybe I found it on YouTube and I watched it. Then I know I saw it before that, but that was technically, I guess, the first time that I considered myself watching it. So then that's why when you were doing this program, this series, I decided that this would be a good one for us to talk about.
Yeah, and I have a feeling now that I've watched it, because I just watched it like literally right before we recorded. I don't think Sarah will want to see this one, so I'm glad we're doing it. With all the liberties that they took with the story, I could just see Sarah being appalled, especially by the end.
Yeah, it's saw that you just uploaded your, well, not just, but I saw that you uploaded your review of the 1993 film, which so I haven't been able to look at that one. I mean, see your review yet, but this film is definitely not the 1993 film.
Yeah. The 1993 film is still my favorite. This one did not even come close to topping it, which I didn't expect it to.
Yeah, well, this might be another Dorothy and the Legend of Oz type of thing where I have a higher opinion of this movie than you
do. I kind of wondered.
I don't think it's. I mean, it's not. It's fine. It's fine for what it is. Yeah.
It's fine as a movie, but as an adaptation of The Secret Garden, it's kind of horrible.
Yeah.
There's so many things that they took liberties with. It's just it's very strange. Like, first of all, Mary has an American accent. That doesn't make the slightest bit of sense because
I think it's supposed to be British accent, but that was the best
really
in her time.
Okay, well, she's British and she grew up in India, so she should have something that sounds something like either British or Indian. It shouldn't be me mistaking it for American. Like I could have sworn that was an American accent.
Yeah, it was. Let's say she was only 15 at the time, so.
Yeah, and I looked her up. She's apparently a really prolific voice actress.
No,
I didn't
she is.
recognize her, but she's
when
been in a lot.
When I heard her voice, it reminded me a lot of the girl Robin from Tom and Jerry the movie. And then I looked it up, and hey, she was the voice of Robin in Tom and Jerry the movie.
Okay.
And then she was also the voice of Sarah in some of the some of the Land Before Time films.
Okay.
I'm not sure if she's still the current voice of Sarah or not, but she was at some point at least.
Yeah, the one that I recognized her from was Recess. She was one of the Ashleys.
Oh, I haven't seen Recess yet.
Oh, really? That was one of our favorite shows as a kid. It's on Disney Plus.
Oh
If
yeah,
you ever
yeah.
want to check it out.
I'm currently that's pretty much all I'm doing Disney Plus, going through all the animated shows. I'm currently on Gravity Falls because I never saw that before, so that's my current.
Really? Oh, that
Yeah,
show is so good.
I love it.
Yeah. Well,
But
other than the American accent, at least what I thought was an American accent, I did like her voice. I thought she was a decent actress. I
no,
especially liked when she'd
she
get
was.
upset.
She's a good actress. She can portray the emotions that she needed to
Yeah.
pretty.
I really liked when she was like really impudent about things, like yelling lazy servants when she found the cold breakfast.
So over the top and just enjoy it, but it's enjoyable at the same time.
Yeah. At the very beginning, I kind of thought maybe this won't be so bad because it did seem halfway decent at the beginning. Then later things happened, but
The Robin and the cat started
uh,
talking.
yeah,
I mean, to be honest, I think as a child's first introduction to the Secret Garden story, I still think this is a pretty good intro. Like when if they're young and this is the first one you want them to watch before you show them like the 1993 version or another version. I don't think it's really that bad of a first viewing.
probably not. There's things later on that if it wasn't animated would probably be too much, but it's kind of ridiculous by the end, so it doesn't come off as like that dangerous, even though if it was real life, that's like people would be arrested and locked away for years.
Like one of the changes I noticed they make, so Mr. Midlock is more, let's say, evil, or she is evil in this one.
Yeah, she's like basically evil, which it's that there is precedent for her not being the nicest like in other versions, but she you have to walk a fine line with her because she's mean, but she means well. And I feel like the 1993 version is like the perfect version of her because she's scary and mean, but you know that deep down she really thinks she's doing the right thing, even though she's not. She really is trying her best. And with this
Yeah,
one, they just went straight for evil.
yeah. Like you said, there is a precedent. So like, it didn't offend me too much because I thought, okay, this is an interesting take on the character, which I could potentially see from the book or another adaptation. But
Uh-huh.
like, it probably did go a bit too far, like trying to poison the kid at the end.
Yeah, like at the beginning, when she's just kind of mean, I figured they were going for just like the mean version. Like she's on the mean side and she's not going to have too much nice about her. But then things started happening and you have Mary overhearing her and the doctor conspiring and embezzling money apparently, which I don't think that there's precedent for that in any version. I've never seen them like actively trying to make sure that Dickens stays sick. The 49 version, it seemed like maybe there was hints of that, but it didn't really ever come right out and say that's what was going on. But this one, there is no doubt about it. They are working to try and keep him sick because they want the doctor, who is Mr. Craven's brother, to inherit the manor.
Yeah,
And I don't know if she has evil plans for him in the future because, like, that whole thing at the end, she's singing a song about she's going to get the manor. And it's like, well, you're working with somebody. So what are you planning on doing with the doctor?
exactly. And it reminded me a lot of the Secret Garden musical, where they make. I haven't seen it, but based on what I know about it, I guess the Doctor. I don't know if he's evil, but he. Would you say he has ulterior motives in the musical?
I haven't seen the musical. I don't know if there's a legitimate like filmed version of it that I can find because I was looking. I did find one that on YouTube, but it might be one that somebody just taped. I haven't
Yeah.
watched it.
No,
So,
I never seen it either, but just based on the songs, like the soundtrack and what I've read
oh,
about it.
I haven't listened to the songs yet. I was gonna watch the thing I found on YouTube and see if it turned out to be something I would want to talk about.
Oh, there's one song you definitely have to listen to called Lily's Eyes. That's like the main song from the musical, like the biggest song, the most famous one. It's where the doctor and Archibald sing about the Archibald's wife Lily who's passed away, and
Hmm.
remembering how the girl Mary Lennox, how her eyes remind them of Lily. So
Okay.
that's definitely the one to check out.
Okay.
But
Yeah, that is one that I want to look into. I would really like it if they did a filmed version of the stage play
that's
at
why
some point.
I was kind of upset, not upset, but disappointed that the movie coming out this year is just another adaptation of Secret Garden. I was
Hmm.
kind of hoping it would be the musical.
Yeah. Like I wish they would do that with more musicals and more Broadway plays. Like I live in the middle of Iowa and I have no money. There's no way I'm going to get to New York to be able to watch these things.
That's our tagline. I live in the middle of Iowa and I have no money. No, but I mean, yeah, I get you. Like Disney's doing that for Hamilton. Like,
Yes,
is it
I
next
saw
year?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I maybe that'll start a trend. I hope so because I there's a lot of plays that I would like to see that I just won't get a chance to because they don't film them.
I'm so with you on that. But I mean, my point is, when I saw this character, it reminded me a lot of
Hmm.
what I think they did with that character in the musical. Otherwise,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken from the book, this doctor is. I don't think the doctor's even related to Archibald, is he in the book?
I believe he is his brother, and he would stand to inherit the manor eventually if Colin died,
Mm.
but I don't think he was ever intentionally trying to make sure that he died.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just it's just what would happen. He's still looking after him and trying to
Yeah.
make sure he gets better. I
Okay.
don't think he's literally trying to kill him.
Putting some morphine inside. And checking in with that.
Yeah, well, I don't know what gave them the idea to go straight for murder at the end. It's like, how can we? What can we do to spice this story up a little bit? I know. Let's have them try to kill the kid.
Kill the 10-year-old or whatever it's supposed to be. But I think another change that in this version is they make the character of, I always forget her name. Is it Martha? They make her a
Yeah,
lot older than I think she's supposed to be. Like she looks like a 30-year-old in this version.
I don't know how old she was. How old she was supposed to be in this version. I I kind of thought maybe like mid 20s. I didn't think she was
She,
too old, but she did seem a little older than like Martha's usually is supposed to be.
yeah,
But it wasn't old enough that it really bothered me.
she just seemed too. I don't know. It just maybe just the way they drew her, but
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't know.
I like the fact that they still kept the scene with like the jumping rope.
Yeah,
That's kind of classic Secret Garden, I guess.
yeah, that I liked that scene. I found it kind of weird that they used the jumping rope as the thing that made Mary stop being a brat. Like, because she's a brat at the beginning, but it only lasts for like maybe 15 minutes at the most. And it's the jump rope montage that changes her, I guess, because
Yeah,
like her last thing is she takes the jump rope out to the garden and she's like being all snippy with Ben Weatherstaff and and chucks a stick at the robin, which was kind of funny. And then they have the whole montage with the jump rope, and suddenly she's nice.
yeah, yeah. That I mean, I guess they only had what, an hour to film everything.
Yeah, yeah.
So
The beginning really is the place where it seemed the most rushed to me.
yeah, because it's like 2 minutes in, your parents have died, and like they say it so nonchalantly.
Uh huh.
Then next thing you know, she's on a in England and heading to Misselthwaite. So that, so I guess the next question I want to ask you is, what do you think of the songs? Let's start with Home, the first one.
The songs at first, the first one was just kind of annoying. I was like, it reminded me there was a version of Alice in Wonderland that we watched that had this weird 80s 90s ish song that just kept playing and playing and playing in the background. Like it was a lyrical song with someone singing and it would just play in the background. Like people would be talking over it. It was the weirdest thing. I was really afraid that that's what was going to happen at this because Home played at least twice at the beginning. I was like, oh great, it's another Alice in Wonderland situation. But then that one went away. And then later I wished it would come back because the songs just got worse.
Yeah, Home is definitely the best song. And unlike you, I actually did like it at the beginning. I mean, it could use 2 more revisions maybe for the lyrics, but I mean, I thought the melody was overall catchy enough, and her singing voice for her age was fine. Because again, it reminded me of Robin's song kind of from Tom and Jerry the movie again. So it brought those parallels back to me, where she also had to sing a song. She sang it much better in that movie though. But
I haven't seen that movie.
Oh, you gotta check that one out. Then like the Robin just randomly starts singing.
That was the weirdest thing. Like
every first it was like every boink.
It was so weird because first it seemed kind of like a joke that Dickon could talk to animals.
Yeah.
But then the Robin like literally starts talking to her, and then later the cat starts talking to her. I was like, this is the weirdest change that they could have made to the story. And then I was wrong because it wasn't the weirdest thing they could make to the story.
And it's not like she even went through any sort of big change that allowed her to, let's say, hear the thoughts of animals. Mm-hmm. Literally, the Robin just starts singing.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I can understand you now.
Yeah, it was so
and the
weird.
Cat just starts talking. No. And she's like, yeah, you can understand me.
And then they have the animals being like instrumental in the outcome of the movie. Yes, because the movie would not have had a happy ending were it not for the animals.
Yeah, like, Darjeeling came to the rescue there.
Yeah, he had to get out. He had to find the Robin and get the Robin to deliver a message to Mr. Craven to get him to come back just in time before the kids are murdered. It's so weird. And the way they wrote it, if the animals hadn't talked, none of that could have happened. The children would be dead.
You're pretty right. Mr. Craven would have come home one day, and he probably wouldn't even have noticed anything himself.
Probably not, because, I mean, his son was already sick.
Yeah. Speaking of the animals, what do you think of the voice actors in this?
I mean, for what they were, the voice actors were fine. It was just weird that they could actually talk.
Yeah. I thought they did.
I think Frank Welker did the Robin.
Yes.
And the mom from Mary Poppins did Darjeeling the cat.
Glynis Johns, which was, at first, once you know that, then you hear her voice and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's her.
She is quite a bit older in this movie, though, because it's like 30 years later.
Yes. And Honor Blackman, she was the voice of Mrs. Medlock. I thought her performance was pretty good, but she can't sing for her life.
Her voice was, it was good. It just, I mean, I felt it was kind of fitting since she turned out to be so evil that they went with somebody who had like a really stereotypical heavy smoker's voice.
I guess that makes sense, yeah.
It seemed kind of fitting. It just made her so that much more evil, which seemed odd at the beginning, but then by the end, when you find out she's basically planning murder, I was like, yeah, I guess that's a lot more fitting that way.
And then Derek Jacobi was Mr. Craven.
Yeah.
I thought he was pretty good too. And if I'm not mistaken, he plays Archibald Craven in another Secret Garden adaptation. Is that right? A live action one.
He might. I believe I read that. And, and then when I saw it on here, I was like, well, maybe I was thinking about this one. But he might be in a live action one.
Yeah,
I was looking up a bunch today trying to get prepared for future episodes.
Yeah.
And I did read that he's in one, and I just assumed it was this one, but maybe he is in a live action one too.
Yeah, no, I think it's in live action as well, but I don't remember which one. But I also thought he was pretty great. I mean, whoever it was that voiced, Dickon is definitely trying to do a Yorkshire accent. Reminds me of who were we talking about one time? It's the ghost of Christmas Past in the Christmas Carol movie.
Yeah. It wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't that bad, but just reminded me of that.
He just seemed basically English rather than Yorkshire.
They snuck the wick. We got the wick in there. You can't not have the wick. And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they also change how the mother died? Like in this one, they seem
the scene with the mother died. Like the Robin is the one who tells them about the mother's death, and it has like this close up on the swing, and lightning hits the swing, and it's all electrified. I'm like, did they just electrocute the mother? And then it's like it pauses, and then the branch just drops. It was almost like it was waited a beat for like comedic effect.
Boink, mom's dead.
It was like, what? But then you find out she didn't die from that. Because it says that she gave birth later that day, and then she died.
Yeah, the complications from the fall, and Dickon has not Dickon.
No. It was just
whatever
weird.
His name is. Yeah, Master
Colin.
Yeah, he's been depressed the whole time, thinking he caused his mother's death, but it was the fall.
Yeah, well, I think
I don't remember this from the story.
I think in the book she died in childbirth.
Okay.
I don't remember if there was a fall in the garden or not. Although there might have been, because I haven't read the book in so long. But in the two versions that I've watched most recently, they did have a fall in the garden. So that might have been from the book too. But I don't think that there was a dramatic bolt of lightning that zapped the swing and then the tree fell on her.
And there definitely wasn't a Robin telling the story.
No, the Robin was not dramatically telling the children the events of the past.
And if I remember correctly, he just like randomly mentions it like if it was a secret he was trying to keep for a long time, and like now was the time to tell it.
Something like that. Yeah. They were talking about bringing Colin out to the garden.
Oh yeah,
maybe it'd be good for him.
It's not a good idea. Let me tell you what.
Yeah, like that. When I was first watching this, I was like, well, what are they going to do? Tell him that a talking Robin told them about his mother? Then I was like, well, that would make just as much sense as anything else happening. So that's probably what they'll do.
Yeah, I mean, did the animals talk to Colin? I don't remember. Did he hear animals talking?
I don't think so. Maybe that. Well, there was a song, and I kind of was doing other things during that one song in the garden. So maybe they were talking then. I don't know. All I remember is that there was a bunch of flowers that were dancing.
Oh gosh, I must have zoomed out on that part. I just remember the worst song written and sung is the Mrs. Medlock song at the end. She can't sing for a note, and the lyrics to that are just bad.
Yeah. If I had to pick a worst one, I probably would pick the Robin song, but that one, they're kind of equal for different reasons.
That one's at least catchy, somewhat. But
they're
Mr. Medlock song, like all the meter is off and everything.
Yeah, they're both bad in different ways.
Yeah. And then Home. Well, Home's the best one.
I was going to mention too, when the Robin was talking about having known the mother, I was like, wait a minute, that was 10 years ago. How old do Robins get? So I looked up how old a European Robin gets, and it's only 13 months. So this is an old bird.
Well, this story's been passed down generation to generation. 13 years, 10 years.
It's a Robin legend.
That explains a lot why the story's become she's swinging it on a swing. Striking.
They've just added things like lightning bolts to tell the baby Robins.
Exactly. Oh boy. I'm just glad that Robin somehow knew where to fly to get to.
That's true. There's so many weird things happening in this that I didn't even think about that. Like, how on earth did the Robin know how to get to Scotland?
And how would Archibald Craven even? I guess the bird would just land on his windowsill and he'd see like a message there and just take it from the bird.
Yeah,
like,
I don't
does
know.
that
It
message
wasn't
get passed?
explained.
Well, probably for the better.
I'm sure if they thought long enough, they would come up with some contrived way to explain it, because they thought of a lot of other contrived things for this movie.
Exactly. One thing that I give this movie credit for is I like the short run time. I think like even the 1993 film, I think sometimes can drag for a bit. There are scenes that I think go on a bit too long, and this movie, they cut out half of what should be in there. But I mean, I like the attempt at keeping it an hour.
Yeah, well, if they'd made it feature length, it probably would have felt unbearable to me, because there were scenes that were fine. There were scenes like it was decent animation, decent artwork. I enjoyed that they had paintings in the background, like actual background paintings instead of something that looked cheap. But even that can't save it when it gets weird, because like with the song with the dancing flowers, I was just checked out. I was like, this is
One thing we also have to remember is this was an episode of a television series, so it has that TV budget. It's not so much the theatrical budgets, but then again, you have a theatrical budget and you get films like Legend of Oz.
Yeah, it's some people can do a lot with a little, and I feel like with as much as they probably had for this, they probably did as good as they could do.
Yeah.
It's just they should have had somebody go over the script a few times.
They probably they were on a time rush.
Probably.
What do you got? Okay, let's do that. Why does the cat talk? Okay, no worries. Just go ahead with that. I think that's pretty much the whole film. I can't remember anything else.
Yeah, basically. The only thing we didn't really talk about was like the garden itself, which is like in the title.
Which is kind of the point, yeah.
But I
don't remember it either, so that's not the greatest thing.
The garden was like barely in the movie. It had maybe 3 scenes, and one of them was a terrible song with dancing flowers.
Almost a flashback with the lightning striking this one.
Yeah, I guess it featured in the end, because the climax of the movie happened at the end. So you saw like the garden in all its glory, but the end was so quick because Mrs. Medlock bursts into the garden screaming about his father never loved him, and then he's like right behind her, and he like immediately fires her, and then everything is happy, and then it's the end. It like happens within 2 minutes.
You think they would have been arrested or something, but he just fires her, and I guess she went somewhere else to get a new job. It's
I don't know. Whatever.
I mean, overall, I'd watch it again, and I'd probably watch it. I was about to say I would watch it more than the Christmas Carol, but I think both of them I would watch about the same level of wanting to watch it again.
I wouldn't purposely choose to watch this again, but if it was on, I don't think I would have a problem watching it, because it is ridiculous enough that it's kind of entertaining in that way. But like, if I want to watch The Secret Garden, I'm going for the 93 version, because I love the 93 version.
Nice. I never grew up with the 93 version, but I saw it for the first time about 5 months ago, maybe. Sometime last year, yeah.
Yeah, there was one that I grew up with. A family friend who was basically a third grandmother gave me a copy of it, and I watched it a lot. I loved that movie.
Well, there you have it, folks. 993 one is better than this one, which is this came out in 94, I guess.
I wonder if the 93 one influenced anything in this one in any way.
If they did, I don't think you would want to admit it.
Well, at the beginning, I was wondering about Mrs. Medlock because I was thinking that they were going for the more surly version.
Like Maggie
But
Smith.
then it went downhill, and I was like, no, this is not the Mrs. Medlock from the 93 version. This is like the 93 version if she went homicidal.
Exactly. But my question is, how did they get the voice actor? Like, whose idea was it? Do you know who we need for the cat? Glynis Johns. Like, who decided that?
Who knows? Maybe there was just a casting call and she won.
Gosh. I mean, I just think that's the weirdest choice.
Yeah,
well, their voice, but I mean, I'm just saying, we have this house cat that I think it's a girl, might be a boy, I don't know. Who should we voice? Who should we have voice it? Glynis Johns, who's actually still alive. Both she and Honor Blackman are still alive. Glynis Johns,
really?
I think, like 97, and Honor Blackman's like 95 or 96. So still with us.
Well, good for them.
As of recording.
And then in 3 weeks, when I finally put this out, they're gonna just die.
They're both dead. Police come looking for us. Mr. Jonathan North, where were you on the night of so and so?
It was only a podcast, I swear.
Then they shut down your YouTube channel. Derek Jacobi goes into hiding. Oh gosh. Do you think we're due for another animated film adaptation of Secret Garden, or do you think Secret Garden doesn't translate well in the medium of animation?
No, I actually think that it would be good to do another animated version, but like, give it to somebody who's going to do it right. Because Sarah and I just talked about this, I think in our 93 episode. She mentioned anime because she hasn't seen a whole lot of anime. So when she says anime, she's thinking like Miyazaki. And, and I was thinking also of like Makoto Shinkai, somebody who does natural settings really well. Because like if you watch Your Name, it is gorgeous. Like
oh my gosh,
out in the wild, it's
gorgeous. Yeah.
So either of those filmmakers would make a great Secret Garden.
So, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there is an anime of Secret Garden.
Yes, I found that today.
Yeah.
And I was really disappointed because it's one of those anime series from like the 70s where they made like 40 episodes and it was never brought to the US. So there is no English translation. There's not even a subtitled version, which is really disappointing because all the episodes are on YouTube.
Yeah.
There's just no way for me to watch it and know what's going on.
Find someone who knows Japanese, like, yo, translate.
Yeah, I don't think I know anybody who knows Japanese.
Yeah, me neither, sadly. But I do think Secret Garden would work well in animation, but like you said, get the right person to do it.
Yeah.
Get the right studio, the right people, and a good theatrical budget. I think we can get a good, even just 90-minute animated film in theaters.
Even, I mean, if Disney ever goes back to hand-drawn, I love one from Disney.
That's true. Disney, even, hey, if they made it a musical, I'd love that too. Just don't make the animals sing.
Yeah, no. Make it like a good musical, not a cheesy one.
Or make it an animated adaptation of the Broadway musical.
Yeah. But overall, I think the best bet would be a really good anime director doing it. Just because I know how good scenes with like flowers and natural settings can be done in anime. And I feel like that's like the best version is the potential for the best version would be in anime. But
Yeah.
if somebody wants to do it, just do it right. That's all I want. I just want it to be good.
No, I see what you mean with the anime. That they would literally make the Secret Garden come alive, literally.
Yeah, definitely. Plus, like Miyazaki, he likes doing English stories. Like
Yeah.
there have been he's done several, and
The
his
Borrowers is the
yeah,
I forget the name now, but he did that
and
one.
and Howl's Moving Castle. That's another
Yeah.
English story, and even his group that split off to make Studio Ponok, their first movie was an English
Yeah.
story,
Mary the Witch's
Mary and the
Flower.
Witch's Flower. Yeah, so it's not unprecedented that they could take a story like that and do it justice.
Exactly.
Well, I guess that'll be all for this episode. Do you want to let people know where they can find you in the future?
Sure. You can find me on my blogs. I have the Animation Commendation at theanimationcommendation.com. I have a live action Disney blog at myliveactiondisneyproject.wordpress.com. And you can check me out there and give me a follow if you like my stuff. Thanks.
And I'll have links to those in the description. Well, thanks for joining me for this. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks again, Jonathan. It's always fun to talk about the movies like this with you. This is why we don't, sit down and talk about like good Oscar-nominated films, because it wouldn't be as fun.
Yeah. No, I don't mind watching a weird, bad animated movie if we're gonna talk about it later.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta go down my list and find another one for us.
Yeah. I'll eventually be doing some other books too, so I'm sure there's plenty of animated versions that we'll be able to talk about for some of those in the future.
True.
Okay, well, thanks for joining me. I guess we'll see you next time.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye. Thanks again to Mark for joining me on this episode. If you want more from him, I'll have links to his blogs in the description below. Next time on the Secret Garden series, I'll be by myself. I'm currently watching through a YouTube adaptation of the story, a vlog-style series called the Misselthwaite Archives. I don't think I know anyone who'd be interested in talking about this one, let alone watching through all, I think there's 40 plus episodes. And it has way too much adult language for Sarah to even want to touch it, so I'm just going to talk about it by myself. And so far there's been a weird amount of stuff to talk about, so I feel like I can probably make a decent length episode out of it, even if I'm alone. After that, I think we'll take another break from the Secret Garden series for a while. Sarah and I recorded several more episodes of the Disney Movie Marathon back in January, so I feel like it's high time I put those out. Anyway, that's all for now. We'll see you next time for another episode of the Secret Garden series on iHeart Movies. Thanks for listening.